Hello and welcome to ILTV Insider. I'm Ayan Hoffman, executive editor of ILTV, and tonight we are stepping back to look at the full picture. Gaza is not demilitarized. One hostage is still held. Hezbollah is being struck despite a ceasefire. Iran is watching and recalculating, and global powers are moving in ways that could reshape the region for years. I'm joined by Ruth Wasserman Lande, one of Israel's sharpest voices on regional politics, to break down what is really happening, who is calling the shots, and what Israel's next moves may be. So let's get started. Ruth, I want to start with Gaza and what feels like an absolute growing contradiction. Netanyahu says Turkey and Qatar are going to have no role in post-war Gaza, and yet U.S. President Donald Trump has invited both countries to take part in the executive board. Who is going to ultimately decide what is going to happen over here?
So I cannot decisively say what will happen, but I can say this. Fidan Hakan, the foreign minister of Turkey, is certainly no friend of Israel. I would dare say not of the United States either, but that's completely overlooked by the current administration, or any administration for that matter. Sitting on the Council of Peace, I think they call it, it sounds almost like the UN at this moment in time, with really partners that are anything but humanitarian, sitting at the head of the humanitarian committee. Very, very problematic for Israel, with the presence of Turkey in Syria from the north of the country, and a presence, and I call it a presence, if they do sit in that council, in the south. That's a kind of a overlapping, I would say, from both sides, takeover, or the preparation of a takeover for the Turkish leadership. And I know it sounds very dramatic, but I stand behind my words. I think that there is a huge threat from Turkey. By the way, not only do they have the capability militarily, but they stated every day that they will free Jerusalem. Freeing Jerusalem means overtaking the state of Israel with its capital and freeing it of the Israelis or the Jews inside. Very, very dangerous, both capability and declaration of will. That's, you know, in theory is casus belli, a declaration of war, and is very, very problematic. Now, I know that Trump is not naive. I have no hesitation about the fact that he understands, he gets it. The question is, what's the end game? And, you know, there's a limited degree to which I can truly enter his head, or whether he and Netanyahu have a plan that is not out there, is not transparent either to Israelis and to Americans. What I can say decisively is that Turkey, Qatar are problematic, particularly now that they're forging a very, very dangerous coalition. Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Turkey, and Qatar, I think vis-a-vis what they perceive to be potential access of Israel, a new leadership in Iran once the regime falls, India, and the United States of America.
Wow, and it's really, it's striking, because if we would have a presence, as you described, like Turkey, which is supportive of the Muslim Brotherhood and has not been secretive about its intentions for Israel, as you said, on the southern border, we'd essentially be back where we started on October 7th.
We'd be even worse, because Turkey is a very huge factor. In fact, Turkey would be competing to lead the extremist Sunni axis, which will become very, very powerful now that we have weakened the Iranian Shiite axis, and we shall weaken it even further, because there will be a war, there will be a strike in 2026, and I do believe that we will see this year a change of regime. It's a very good thing on the one hand, a freedom for the Iranian people from this captivity.
Assuming a better regime comes into play.
I would like to think that if a regime change would be in place, and I do believe that it will be, that is being planned by the powers that are expected to perform this regime change or aid the Iranian people in creating this regime change, which they so want. It would be unthinkable to leave it for luck. However, good as it may be, the Sunni axis, on the other hand, will gain a lot of power given the kind of a free corridor that it will be receiving. And this is very problematic because Pakistan has nuclear power, Saudi Arabia has a lot of money, and so does Qatar, and Turkey has huge military might and is a NATO member. So that's all three things that are needed to become the true leader of a worldwide caliphate based on Sharia.
So let's go back to Gaza then for a minute, because we are moving forward, it appears, with phase 2 of this plan, despite all the challenges that you just described.
And the fact that the 20-point plan of President Trump has not been, as you had mentioned in the opening, has not been fulfilled.
And so this is really the question, right? We were said that Hamas needed to be demilitarized before phase 2 could happen. Now there seems to be this American idea that they can happen simultaneously, that we'll demilitarize a little bit, rebuild a little bit, demilitarize, rebuild. Why is Israel going along with such a plan? We know what's at risk.
It's not going along. And although we don't have the information whether there is a clandestine agreement between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump, at least declaratively and from the looks of it, Israel is not going along with this plan. It is truly a security threat to the country and to the citizens, and I'm very, very adamant about it. I think this is a very significant strategic security threat.
So if we've left also the one hostage, I mean, there are those who say, you know, of course, it is correct that every person is a world, and obviously we need to bring back this one hostage and give closure to the family.
Without a question.
This is without a question. But it's not just about the family. It's also about giving Hamas that hostage. What does it mean if we end up moving forward and Hamas still has one of our Israelis?
1 millimeter cannot be moved forward. This is not a hardline concept. This is not a right-wing or a left-wing concept. This is plain negotiation strategy. And who is the better master of negotiation than President Donald Trump? I believe in him. I believe in his leadership. And I hope to God that as someone who has the ability to secure the continuity of the state of Israel, he will not allow this to happen, both because this allows for a negotiation chip remaining in the hands of a designated, proscribed terrorist organization. Second of all, of course, they're not going to disarm. I mean, there's no question about it. Nobody believes in it, neither them nor the Americans, nor Israel. No one. It's an absolute joke. But this is not the point. Even if they are demilitarized, even if they are killed to the last Hamas operative, the de-radicalization is the issue. The issue of the financing of potential terrorism is the issue. And both issues are not addressed. The shekel is the currency inside the Gaza Strip. Nothing is being done about it. The Central Bank of Israel is the holder of that currency. Something must be done to stop that because the Hamas is getting richer by the day. That's number one. And the de-radicalization of an entire extremely radicalized population is also very, very important as a basis for rebuilding. No rebuilding can be done unless those things happen, including, of course, the issue of disarming, although it's not enough, and the return of Ran Gevili.
But the de-radicalization could take decades, so how do you start rebuilding only after de-radicalization?
De-radicalization needs a plan, and it needs an oversight committee. De-radicalization cannot be done immediately, I agree with you, but it must be done, let's say, in a manner where the council that oversees it makes sure that it is happening. For example, like in the UAE, a transformative process had taken place vis-a-vis the education. All teachers that did not cooperate were simply ousted, and a new syllabus and new messaging was put in place. This will not be done by Fidan Hakan and or Qatar and or Tony Blair that has zero leverage over anybody in the Gaza Strip.
Over anybody in the Palestinian world.
Or anybody at all, for that matter.
Yeah.
And over and above that, the Palestinian Authority and de-radicalization is an oxymoron, because in the school books and the curriculum inside the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, it is a little bit different than the Gaza Strip, but the incitement and the indoctrination are absolutely awful. So obviously they will not be the ones who make this happen. Plus the Hamas will not let them operate for 1 minute.
100%. And we keep talking about this international stabilization force that's going to come in. Now it looks like maybe that's not even going to happen. There's a commander, but no soldiers to work under the commander of the ISF. I mean, I think the biggest problem with it, right, that we talk about is that this ISF wants to come in and help administer humanitarian aid or, quote unquote, keep the peace. But they also are unwilling. No soldier so far has been willing, no country has been willing to talk about demilitarizing Hamas. So I ask you, Ruth, and then we'll move to some other areas of the country and the other borders around us. But if the ISF is not willing to demilitarize Hamas, if we have a board of peace, but sitting on the executive committee of this board are Turkey and Qatar, ultimately, is Israel not going to have to be the ones to go in and to finally demilitarize Hamas? And if that is the case, aren't we still at war?
Without a question.
And how long is this going to last?
Without a question. There's no question about it. Israel cannot allow Hamas and Turkey a foothold in the Gaza Strip. It is key to Israel's security, national security. And Israeli government, no matter what it is, right wing, left wing, it doesn't matter, has a responsibility to its civilians to protect them. It cannot protect them with Hamas inside the Gaza Strip, with an extremely radicalized population, plus with figures like Turkey's foreign minister and Qatar sitting on any board connected to anything to do with us. It's just not doable.
But are we going to go and fight Hamas again?
Well, if this council is a declarative issue, moved forward by people close to President Trump, if it's only declarative, there are things that can be done by the Israeli army in order to create a different scenario.
Okay.
Together with some, I would say, role players in the region. Mm-hmm. Without the cooperation of the United States, it will be impossible. Witkoff and Jared Kushner are not transparent. It's not an easy sentence to say, but what you are asking basically is explain this inexplicable query, question, scenario. It's inexplicable because there are missing issues that we cannot find the answer to. Those who can and should address the Israeli public and at least give us hope for the children that we are raising and their security here as people who care about the Jewish peoplehood, they should be transparent about where this is going and how do they provide that security with those figures in the council and with Hamas not being disarmed and still in place.
So now I want to take us to shift to the north, because as we've seen in the last few days, the IDF is continuing to strike Hezbollah. In fact, there were 3 strikes just yesterday alone. So why is this still happening when since November 27th, I believe it was, we supposedly signed a ceasefire? We know Hezbollah is not disarmed, despite the words of the Lebanese government. But why are we seeing so much action now? What's going on in the north?
So the Hezbollah is a proxy of, obviously, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And the Islamic Republic of Iran at this moment is with its back towards the wall, against the wall. A wounded animal is a very, very dangerous one, and it has very little to lose. Situation in Iran is terrible, with tens of thousands of people, unarmed civilians, massacred, burnt, raped, killed. It is absolutely horrendous. And I believe the Hezbollah, although not declaratively, is seeking to help in some manner the Islamic Republic of Iran. Furthermore, of course they will not disarm. There is no question about it. No terrorist organization in the history of terrorism has ever voluntarily disarmed. And the idea that Tom Barak had put forward that the Lebanese army would disarm the Hezbollah is, again, inexplicable and oxymoronic, because inside the Lebanese military, inherently, there are Hezbollah forces, because it is made up of the different fragments of the Lebanese population. Again, a very senior representative of a very positive, operative friend of Israel, in my humble opinion, is not transparent enough to the people of the region as per how the inexplicability may be explained. And this is an issue to address with courage.
Now, you sounded very confident before when you said that there would be regime change in Iran this year.
I believe so.
And there would be an attack, I believe. He said another war with Iran in 2026. Tell me what gives you that confidence. What are we looking at for a strike? And is this the U.S. and Israel together?
So what I feel is happening in Iran is that the uprising cannot be moved back. Okay. It cannot be stopped. It cannot be calmed. It cannot be quietened. The hearts of the people, the emotions of the people, the minds of the people cannot go back after what had happened. Not only is the economic situation disastrous, they have no water, they have no food, they have no employment, they have no pride, but they know that their regime is sending millions and millions of dollars to the Hezbollah, to Hamas in Syria, and to Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and Gaza Strip. And they've had it. Now, after the current massacre, there's no going back. People will not go back.
Okay.
They will not go back. There is no, let's say, enveloping this anger any longer. And therefore, this regime cannot go on. Yes, they are not going into the streets anymore because they are being literally massacred. But they're going on top of the roofs. They are not for 1 minute going to be under this regime calmly.
So when do we attack?
There will be an attack. I have no idea when. There is a preparation for an attack. President Trump has said help is on the way. He cannot possibly be an Obama and not stand behind those words. I don't believe he would do such a thing. I don't believe he wants to do such a thing. And I don't believe he wanted not to attack, but that the attack, when it will be in order to make sure that there is a regime change.
And now maybe it was too early to ensure that that happened?
Perhaps, perhaps.
Do you think the rumors that Netanyahu was asking him to delay?
I don't know if it's Netanyahu. I don't know if it's the Turks. I don't know if it's the Qataris. I don't know who it was. But there is no question in my mind that he is determined to be real and true to his word. Help is on the way. Now, Iran is not homogenous. There is Baluchi population, there is Azeri population. There are Arab Sunnis in the southern part of Iran, in Arabistan or Khuzestan. There are Iranians, liberal Iranians. There are all kinds of people in approximately 90 million person republic. So homogeneous it is not. Also, there's a question mark, a legitimate one, whether Reza Pahlavi will be able to unite everybody in a transitional period in order to make Iran better again. I personally think that he has strength and infrastructure within Iran, and that he is able to, having formulated a plan with many, many partners throughout the last years, to do such a thing. Will it succeed or not? The good Lord knows it. Also, I'm not a prophet. But I believe in that strength. I believe in that possibility. And if and when that happens, the natural alliance between the new Iran and Israel is, on the one hand, an unbelievably formidable coalition of good, innovation, prosperity, strength, together with the United States of America, together with India, and so on. And at the same time, there are a huge threat to the likes of Turkey and Saudi Arabia, which is why we are seeing on the other side a kind of a coalition of, let's be honest, like-minded partners.
Like-minded evil versus like-minded good. Now, unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we do have to wrap it up. It goes by so quickly when there is just so much to cover. So,
absolutely.
Ruth, thank you so much for being here tonight and joining us on Insider. If you found this discussion valuable, please check out the ILTV podcast for a series of more in-depth interviews on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Mayan Hoffman. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.